Hey, hey, Blue Table fans. It is time. So here's the deal. I'm going to talk about Warhammer Fantasy Armies and help you pick which army to take. This is for a fan named Dylan, but also it's a very common question. People try and decide, well, which one should I do? But for some general notes about Warhammer Fantasy, Warhammer Fantasy 8th edition came out, I do believe it was summer of 2010, and so far what they've done, here, look at this. We're missing like 2 army books here, but don't worry, I'm going to get to those too. So look at this. New ones, there's 5, and then there's like 10 ones that are from the previous edition, but that have been made compatible through FAQ updates, and they're just plain compatible. So what's happening now is Warhammer Fantasy is at its zenith. It's like the best time to be playing Warhammer Fantasy because there's a bunch of army books out. It's getting stable. The old army books are still very strong, very interesting. The model ranges are getting expanded and filled out. It's really a fantastic time to play Warhammer Fantasy. Of course, we all know 40k 6th edition is coming out, so that will begin the climb for that set. So what you have between 40k and Fantasy is you have one kind of like this, and the other one just kind of delayed, like sine and cosine. So, all right, I'm going to tell you about the ones that have been published. First up is Orcs and Goblins. And Orcs and Goblins are, they're a bit random. They can be very powerful, but they can also go horribly wrong. So you're really adding, if you choose this army, you're adding a real element of chance here. And I'm not going to talk about strategy. I'm just going to talk about, well, why would you play them? What's the general feel that you're going to get? Orcs and Goblins have a lot of fantastic figures to them. They got the Ragnarok spider. That was kind of their big kit that they got, and this is what that looks like. And basically, yeah, they are, personally, I can't get enough. A great themed army to do that I would love to do for this would be Savage Orcs, because the Savage Orcs got some really amazing kits for them. So to do a jungle-themed army would be really fantastic. And it's really simple. You just use Savage Orc models as your regular boys and give them 2 hand weapons each. And that's really the trick to making a Warhammer Fantasy army is you got to have basically 2 big blocks of core units, probably at least 30 each. And let's see here. May take, yeah, additional hand weapons is an upgrade for Orc boys. So that'd be a great theme. Also, you can make a Goblin army out of this. So what I'm trying to get to is there's different, even though it's one army book, you can play it mixed or you can play it themed. I'm going to tell you what the themes are. So you can do a Goblin army, you could do a Savage Orc themed army, or you could just do regular, you know, orcs. Okay, next up is Tomb Kings. So Tomb Kings, they have, everyone has like fantastic figures. I'm going to tell you what they are. Tomb Kings have really, they're an undead army, so they take out some of the guesswork. So they're the opposite of Orcs and Goblins in that respect, in that your guys are never just going to run off the board. They will stay and fight to the last man. But of course they have, you know, they're weak and need to be summoned. So Tomb Kings got this thing. Their big kit made 2 things. It made the War Sphinx and the Necro Sphinx. And both of those are fantastic figures. By the way, we do armies on commission. That's why I'm trying to get people to put in a commission request. And what you do is you email us at bluetablepainting@gmail.com with whatever you might like done. It can be very vague. Hey, I'm thinking of making a 2,000 point Tomb Kings army. And we do what's called turbo armies, where we make everything up. We also do a la carte, which is you either A, download a spreadsheet from our site, and you just plug in the numbers. You just say, I want 2 of these, 5 of these, 10 of those. And down at the bottom of the spreadsheet, it'll calculate up your models, your assembly, your painting. And or this option B is you just send in a list, we give you a quote, or you can not even send in a list. You say, I really don't know what I want. And we are quite the experts at making armies. Oh, Tomb King's also got these things. They are sepulchral stalkers. And there's one other thing that kit makes, but I can't find it. Anyway, so Tomb Kings, kind of this Egyptian flair to them that's really super, and their play style is that they are relatively safe. They you know, they won't just run off the board on you. So that's Tomb Kings. Next up is Vampire Counts. I count this as a human army. Vampire Counts have a very kind of like Eastern Europe feel to them, and they draw from all this kind of like traditional lore of vampires. So these are not vampires with glittering skin. They are your these are your parents' vampires. So the big kit they got was this one. It makes a zombie dragon or this terror geist. And so the big kits they came out with, they make two things. Same thing here. The big guys kit, crypt horrors or vargeists is what those make. So vampire counts, again, very evocative. They're really strong. They have lots of cheap troops. If you're painting your own figures, this is a really good army to start with, because though while you need a lot of figures, they are easy to convert and paint. So, by the way, there's not one of these I don't like, so I won't be. But if I had to pick a favorite, I'll tell you at the end. Okay, so that's Vampire Counts. You got Ogre Kingdoms. Ogres are really strong right now. We went to Adepticon. We saw a ton of Ogre armies in the tournament room there. So their big kit was the Thunder Tusk Stonehorn. That's what that looks like. So it makes two big guys. We can magnetize that for you, so that is a thing. They also have a kit, a medium-sized kit, which makes a scrap launcher or iron blaster. We're not orcs here. And here's the iron blaster. That's what that looks like. And by the way, running one or two of those is a really good idea. So the Ogre Kingdoms, they got fleshed out. They're a great army. Here's why you want to pick up this army as a commission from us is low model count. This is probably one of the less expensive armies to make, and they're very impressive on the board, and there ain't nothing wrong with ogres. Let's move on. The Empire. You're gonna have a lot of models. They are not easy to paint, but they are very, like most of the other armies, you have lots of like basic troops, and those are, you know, your real foot soldiers. They're, you know, those are the ones that really win you the battle. And but you have huge kits that support them. Like this is Luminarch Hurricanum. That's one kit, makes two different things. And it also, that magnetization of that is something that we offer. Their big guy kit was this Griffin. You can have a Beast Lord, or you can have like a regular captain on it. And if you're doing an Empire army, I would recommend having Hurricanum and Luminarch, two of those. Probably a steam tank, possibly two, depending on how big the army was. And but with Empire, you need about 100 foot troops, and that is quite a feat. But our turnaround is really good right now. We did have a busy season in spring. We're just coming up on the end of that. I've really shored up staffing, organization, the processes to make sure that everything goes right. This is a very difficult profession to be in because every single project is custom. It has a lot of moving parts. Not only moving parts, you know, in terms of just painting it, but also moving parts in terms of like, you know, how is the game played, what goes into the army. In fantasy, the guys have to rank up. There's just a zillion little details, and our company takes care of those quite professionally. So Empire, fantastic army. They also got Demigryph Knights. Oh man, this is it's just candy. It's the problem I have in the candy store, which is too much candy, too little stomach. So here's those guys. Yep, so that is the 5 published armies, and if you're thinking, well, I got to pick one of those because they're current and they're the better armies, think again. GW has done a really fantastic job of balancing things out. Out of the remaining 10 different armies, there are, I would say, at least 7 of them are competitive, reasonably on par with everything else, and only a few where you might have a little harder time playing those. But you do get style points for playing a bottom tier army. But while I have your attention, I did want to talk about like how it works. How to explain this? The internet is a great tool for sorting things out, like cloud mass networking. And so what's happening is everyone wants to know what's good, so you have groups of people figuring that out like more scientifically. And especially at tournaments, as the tournaments progress, you really get to, you know, put army lists to the test. And what happens is you end up with this very kind of top tier of players, and they're the ones telling the rest of us what's good. But the fact is, when you're at an intermediate or even an intermediate high level of play, it's how you play, and you can parlay the strengths of your army into consistent victory, and it just, those differences only show up. Like in a swim meet among amateurs, you might have a race decided by 3 to 5 seconds, whereas at an Olympic level, you probably have the first and second place is probably determined by less than 1 second of difference. And that's what happens as you go up in competitive play. If you're just casually playing, you can pick any army with confidence, learn how to play it well, and have just a good a time. And for me, it's not all about winning, but losing isn't fun either. Losing consistently, like, oh, I just got smashed down again. Well, keep a journal. Try and get better. All right, let's move on to Dark Elves. Dark Elves, the different lists you can play is you can play standard Dark Elves. They're very dark. So you want a couple Hydras. Hydras are kind of the big guy in this army. And they have a really cool fig for that. That's what it looks like. You can get a lot of monsters in your army. They have published, like here's the old Manticore. Well, guess what? There's a new one. And there's a new dragon kit. And a lot of this stuff is holding its own in terms of the models. Different types of themed armies you can have in here is you can have a Witch Elf army by taking a certain special character. This army is very competitive. You get 3 units of 20 Witch Elves, heroes, 2 bolt throwers, 2 Hydras, a Cauldron of Blood or 2, and you're good to go. The Cauldron of Blood, there's a published model for it, and I'm not overly fond of it, but the Cauldron is where you get your conversion possibilities. I'm just trying to find one in here. No, I don't think there's a picture of a Cauldron of Blood in here, but, oh, there it is. That's what the Cauldron looks like. It's like, because in the game it can move. Well, how does this move? Or do they just carry it around? Doesn't make any sense. So anyway, I like to make it like this magic floating bladed thing, or this, or put it on wheels or something. So Dark Elves, they have really strong magic, good shooting, lots of sharp, pointy things that will hurt you. And but they are fragile, but they are quick moving too. So be prepared to paint. Also, this is an army where you can have cavalry. Fast cavalry is your core choices. So personally, I think that is a way to go. Okay, Wood Elves. Wood Elves have never won through sheer strength in any area, except movement. But movement became a tad less important in 8th edition. Or what they did is they made movement so flexible that you couldn't really outmaneuver your opponent as easily. So Wood Elves have really taken a hit, but they're very evocative. They have Dryads as a core choice, which is kind of neat. So themed armies you can do what's called a Treekin army, where you have Treemen, Treekin, and Dryads as most of your army. And that army actually can be a frontal assault army, but quite frankly, Wood Elves are not keeping pace. They're super fun to play though. If you're a casual player, there's nothing wrong with Wood Elves, but be ready. You are going to have to learn every dirty trick in the book to survive and do well. But when you do well, boy, you will outdance your opponent and rip him to shreds. Wood Elves, I'm just going to say it, Wood Elves are my favorite army. There it is. But right now they are kind of on the bottom. High Elves. All right. High Elves, I got some pages falling out here. They're still strong. Some of the range is a little antiquated, but they really got a boost in terms of range from Isle of Blood. And okay, I just left and then came back, so I don't remember where I was. So High Elves are low model count. They are an army where you can get the Isle of Blood, which I think is about 100 but you get a ton of figures in it, and it's half Skaven, so High Elves really do get a boost from that. And the Always Strikes First thing, they have great magic, and the Always Strikes First ability, which is Lizardmen, one of my faves, absolute faves, are really, it's a strong list. There really aren't sub-lists that you can do. It's kind of like Lizardmen are just a mixed thing, and that's their nature, is they have, just a mix of things. So basically for a Lizardman army, you're going to be getting Saurus Warriors as your core. 2 blocks of 30 is what I recommend. They have a lot of good stuff that's translated well into 8th edition. For example, the Slann abilities to put miscasts on people. That one is really awesome. Oh, and get a Slann Mage Priest as your general. That really is the way to go. So Lizardmen, they've got a real solid range. The big guy they got last round was the Stegodon, and that is an absolutely fantastic figure. And my other faves, by the way, Salamanders are a good choice there. And my other faves are, hold on, I'm going to find them, the Temple Guard. There they are. The Temple Guard here are just ridiculous. Making a conversion, the Slann Mage Priest is really a good place where you can do a conversion. Also, this guy, Chakax, is great just to take, even though he's a special character, is really great to take as a hero. Okay, Bretonnians. Bretonnians really are kind of a big mystery right now. They are about 8 years old. They came out in 2004, just when I was starting Blue Table Painting. That's how I remember. I painted 4 Bretonnian armies by myself. And they're kind of like the Knights of the Round Table type stuff. Very bright, lots of heraldry on them. There's like peasants and Grail pilgrims and stuff like that. So basically you're going to have a lot of knights. They're definitely an army where the cavalry is the core thing. And but along with Wood Elves, they are kind of what's considered bottom tier right now. But again, unless you're playing in a competitive environment, they can work just fine. But yeah, you're going to get a lot of knights. Pick up a couple battle forces, and you should have a really good start. Demons of Chaos. I can't say much about this. They were kind of the reigning champs last edition, and there's just so much random stuff in here, and that's not bad. There's plenty of conversion possibilities, but some of them, it's kind of a mix of new and old stuff. And obviously you can theme an army after the 4 chaos gods. So for example, for me, like this is Beasts of Nurgle, but I would just take something different, put it on there and call it a Beast of Cahorn or a Beast of Slaanesh, and just have it have the exact same rules. But basically it's giant demon lord guys is your general typically, like a big demon prince like that. I don't even know if I'm showing it right. Yeah, that's right. And but there's definitely a lot to demons. They're very interesting to play, and they are still holding their own in 8th edition. Dwarfs, the unsung heroes. Here's why dwarfs are cool, is they get lots of runes, runic items, so they're, like you can do a lot of like creativity. There's like mixing and matching their magic items. So for example, dwarfs don't have magic items per se. They just get this giant list of runes, and like they can put 3 runes on a sword. So you can really customize these guys. They really don't have any big models, and they don't have, you know, things that have come out recently, which is why I think they've kind of gone by the wayside. But they are sturdy. They'd be a great army for a beginner, in my opinion. And they just are really cool because, like, they're war machines. You can put runes on them. They can each take, I think, up to 3 runes, which gives them special powers like flaming or magical. They have, like, here is the Anvil of Doom, and this has a published model, but this is an area where you could really have some conversion possibilities. So that's Dwarfs. Skaven, I think they were the last book to come out before 8th edition. They actually have some of the rules were kind of like, we were like, why are they like that? Oh, because 8th edition basic rules are going to be like that. Skaven are so strong So fun to play, so characterful. These rat men with like delusions of grandeur that they're going to take over the world, and then you mix in some of their weird science, and it is an absolute winning combination. They have lots of great large kits like the Plague Furnace, and that is a dual kit. You can make the Plague Furnace or a Screaming Bell, which is that thing. They come in Isle of Blood, so they have these plentiful, new, really keen clan rat models. They're so evocative. They do have a few like older models floating around in there, but not many. They'll have kind of like this new, cool, sleek look, like the Storm Vermin. There's really nothing in the list that's like, ooh, yuck, why would you ever get that? Doom Wheel. Get 2 Doom Wheels in your army, standard. Those things are ridiculously fantastic. Here's a Warp Lightning Cannon. They've actually come out with a new kit for that is absolutely ridiculously good looking. So Skaven, you got to paint a lot of clan rats, but yeah, plan on like 120 clan rats. But they are easy to paint, great for a beginner, inexpensive. You can get a bunch of Isle of Blood kits and then put them together with a few big guys. So basically what I do is I take all the Isle of Blood clan rats, paint up a ton of them, and then I put in 2 Doom Wheels, a Hell Pit Abomination, a Screaming Bell or Plague Furnace, take your pick, and about 4 or 5 characters. And there's your Skaven army. It's about 2,500 points. Plays well, looks great. Real excited about the Skaven. Can't get enough of them. The army books I'm missing for some weird reason are Warriors of Chaos, which is basically these Nordic kind of big armored guys. And they have arguably the best infantry in the game. That's a low model count, tons of conversion possibilities, not a lot of range stuff. They have the Hell Cannon, which by the way I recommend getting 1 or 2 of those. And but the rumors are out right now that they are getting a new book soon. So that is the one to kind of hold your breath for if that is your thing, because there will be cool new models. They'll probably have a big kit in there. And but like I said, and then the last one is Chaos Dwarfs. Chaos Dwarfs are found in a book called Throne of Tamerkon, which is put out by Forge World. It's this big old book. It's like $75, and it's a great read, illustrated, hardback, super deluxe, and the Chaos Dwarf list is official. And they can hold their own with any other Warhammer army. They have their upsides and downsides, and almost the entire model range is fleshed out through Forge World. Downside, it's going to cost about time and a half for your materials to get those. And so that's Chaos Dwarfs, and they are an official army. Okay, so was that 15 armies? Let's take a look here. Okay, I had the initial 5. Wait a minute, one of them's gone. So let me take that. So anyway, I had 5. Right? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Warriors of Chaos and Chaos Dwarfs is 15 armies for Warhammer Fantasy. Right now, so now's a good time to commission a Warhammer Fantasy Army. We can do, we can help you with your list, which means we do give a slight discount if you let us make your list for you and pick what's in it. You can do a la carte, which is you pick and choose and tell us how it's painted. We give a discount for artistic license, which is 10%. And that means we get to pick how it is based and painted within the genre. Hold on, there's more. No, I think that's it. You can go level 2, which costs less. You can go level 4, which is a bit more. And yeah, now's a great time to pick up a Warhammer Fantasy Army. It really is a fantastic game. And here's why. Because the armies are relatively balanced. Easier said than done to balance 15 different army books. So they're relatively balanced. You have a huge, absolutely enormous model range, and a lot of them are fully fleshed out and have big, awesome new kits in them, multiples of that. And there is a broad following for Warhammer Fantasy. Generally, I would even say worldwide. In the US, it's not as popular as Warhammer 40K, but typically where you go, there will be groups that play it. And the main thing is that Warhammer Fantasy really is at its zenith, possibly the best edition. There's rumors floating around that 8th edition has its problems. I don't think so. I think it was just unfamiliar to people, and right now it's kind of getting to this mature stage where the general populace is accustomed to it and is starting to accept the good things about it. So there you have it. Let us know if you want us to make a Warhammer Fantasy Army for you. Oh, one postscript, an absolute must in every Warhammer Fantasy Army, magnetized movement trace, so be sure to ask about that too. So thanks for tuning in, and I hope you have some better ideas on which Warhammer Fantasy Army you might like to play. Okay, one little PS. This is what the Throne of Tamarkand book looks like. It's pretty deluxe. So it's got like this whole huge story in it, and it's got new Empire models, but at the very back, you've got the Chaos Dwarf list. History, just like a regular codex. It is, and it's fantastic. Got great illustrations, and the army list is extremely interesting. All right, that's it.